Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. Once again, you are welcome here on the Tribune of Awakening Consciousness. So, in the international news headlines, Russia has no more limits. During the night of April 4th and 5th, 2025, what Russia made the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, experience is simply unimaginable. Russia, as I often like to say, is pressing down on the accelerator of the sharp or the sharp of the accelerator. Russia is no longer in the buried wound. It's crying in Ukraine, but more precisely in the Ukrainian capital. Russia has raised the level to such a degree that Zelensky resumes his favorite sport. Zelensky has just threatened his own allies. Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has just issued a serious warning to his allies. For the moment, we have not yet seen the response from the United States of America or Europe, but Zelensky is inconsolable. He is uncontrollable. And the world is overwhelmed by the magnitude of what is happening. Ladies and gentlemen, more than 109 drones and over 20 missiles landed on the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, last night. For a very long time, when Russia conducted these bombings, Russia spared the capital. Yes, rightly so, because obviously it is the seat of power. The conflict can be waged on the periphery. It's part of the rules of war. But this time, seeing Russia directly target the capital, it stems from the behaviors and attitudes recently adopted by Ukraine, since Ukraine, just after obtaining the ceasefire agreement between the Americans and the Russian delegation, started bombing the Russian capital, Moscow. Certain sites were targeted by drones and missiles. Unfortunately for Ukraine, these drones were shot down. So, is this a response that Russia is giving? Are we witnessing a true act of revenge starting? This is the big question we ask ourselves after seeing all the recent activities carried out by Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, in this video conference, it is of course this hot and burning news that we are going to discuss. But before continuing, allow me to remind new viewers to share the video conference as much as possible because it gives weight to the video. Share and especially give a lot of likes. Give a lot of likes. And don't forget to subscribe. There you go. And also, activate the notification bell. Let's dive into the depths. So what's happening? Russia attacked Ukraine with 23 missiles and 109 drones on the night of April 6th, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Russian troops attacked Ukraine, and it was a nighttime attack. This nighttime attack targeted the Kiev regions, thus the capital. This attack also targeted the Sumy region. This region, from which Ukrainian soldiers departed to cross and join the Russian region of Kursk. Do you remember the dramatic and triumphant penetration of Ukrainian soldiers, both in the Kursk region, this penetration, which never saw a return? So, there was the Kursk region, the Kharkiv region, Khmelnytskyi, Cherkasy, and Mykolaiv. This is according to an Air Force report. And this report was distributed on Telegram. So, the local authorities in Kiev reported in the morning that one person had been sent to eternal rest, and 3 were injured in the city of Kiev. At the moment, we do not have the report of what happened in the other surrounding cities. So 3 people automatically sent to eternal rest, and others were injured. This is the Ukrainian army providing this report, making this report. And you know that the Ukrainian army tends to minimize the damage, the impacts. A way for them to show that, yes, Russia wanted to do this, but Russia could not. Russia never misses its target. We are facing a nuclear country that has all the technologies, all the latest generation new technologies in terms of conflict in the world. Russia has them. Russia has long prepared to confront the Westerners. Today, It's the small sample of the West that is facing Russia. So, it's just a small part of the Russian military technology that Russia is currently using. Therefore, inevitably, Russian missiles and drones will reach their target. There will be major damage, but the communication war will push the Ukrainian authorities to never tell the truth about what is really happening. In any case, the world will understand what happened in Ukraine, but only after the conflict. We will truly understand what happened. Because right now the real numbers are not being given. Because if they give the real numbers, firstly, it will scare the other citizens who are in other cities of Ukraine. Secondly, it will portray Ukraine as not being very capable of standing up to Russia. However, the goal of the Ukrainian authorities is to show that Ukraine can stand up to Russia if there are logistical and military means, as well as financial resources. So, faced with this situation, President Volodymyr Zelensky is very upset, overwhelmed by the situation. I no longer know what adjective to use, but as the days go by, as the minutes pass, President Zelensky is overwhelmed. So, overwhelmed by the situation, Zelensky calls for a firmer Western response after the Russian missile strike on Kiev. And he had said almost the same thing. Yesterday, when Kiririri, his hometown, was subjected to massive bombings, he condemned the guilty silence of his Western allies. Today, it's the capital. It's the capital. The targeted areas have been hit. What proves that he himself, his presidential palace, regardless of the security there, that this palace cannot be targeted. Since Russia has types of missiles. Beyond the Iskander, there is the Bel Oreshnik, which is capable of destroying all kinds of fortifications, armored, tasked with preventing penetrations of brutal external forces, especially the penetration of weapons. So, despite the fortifications the Reknik Islander can pass, we have seen in one of the cities, very recently in Ukraine, where there were still also teachers or instructors from the West, NATO instructors, who were in a well-fortified factory where, on the balcony we really had an armor. An armor that was there. There was reinforced concrete, but Iskander had pierced it and went to find his officers to distribute their ticket for the departure to eternal rest. So what needs to be said is that the number of air attacks is increasing. No. What needs to be said here is what Zelensky says. Here, he says, the number of air attacks is increasing. This is the way Russia displays its true intentions, to perpetuate terrorism as long as the world allows it. So, Zelensky says that efforts must be doubled to end Russian aggression. He emphasizes that the pressure exerted on Russia is still insufficient. More pressure needs to be exerted on Russia. And he continued by saying, obviously, that the number of air attacks is increasing and Russia will continue to increase as long as the world allows it. There he is addressing his Western allies. You see, it was he who had started violating the ceasefire with air attacks. Putin had come out, he had warned. They did not understand. Louis Zelensky did not understand. Paris and London continued to encourage him. Ultimately, where are we? Today, he is whining while accusing his allies. What are the allies going to do? In any case, ladies and gentlemen, that was the international news headline. Thank you all. I conclude this video conference by telling all those who are Guineans and wish to join our political party, the Citizens Party, in the service of the Republic. You can dial +224 617 12 12 50. +224 the body of Guinea 611 12 12 50. You call this number and you will join the Citizens Party in the service of the Republic. Thank you all. I will get back to you shortly. It was the voice of your one and only samurai.